In this lesson, I'll introduce filler metal and go over the basics of arc length, torch angle, and show you how to dab and weave. You'll be back on 1/4 inch thick plate again here for the last time before moving on to your first weld joints in the next lesson. The flat plate is nice because it's quick to prep and you get a lot of arc time. But our goal, and this is where my approach differs from the standard approach, is to get you off the flat plate as quick as possible after learning a few key things which we'll cover in this video. You can see I've added a little runner bar there to rest my hand on. It's good to get yourself as comfortable as possible while learning, and you'll see later in the video why I added it. Our goal in this lesson is to get you to the point where you're able to put down welds without melting your filler rod back or dipping your tungsten. That's it. But for as simple as that sounds, there's a few key ingredients that go into it. So here we go. The most important variable when learning to TIG weld is arc length. When starting out, almost all the major issues can be tied to either arc length or contamination. Lay a new 1/4 inch thick clean plate, roughly 2 by 6 inches long, down on the table. You want to train your hand to get comfortable moving the torch forward while maintaining a steady distance between the tip of the tungsten and your plate. That's your arc length. Do a few dry runs with no arc first. That will gain you a little edge and muscle memory before dropping the hood. Pull the torch toward you. Don't lean on your torch hand. Let it sit gently on the table. You want your tungsten tip to be about a 1/16 inch above your puddle. A good exercise is to hold a 1/16 inch filler rod flat on the plate. Try to pull your torch straight along it to the side while matching the height of the filler rod. Next is torch angle. There is a lot of leeway here. In general though, you want to match your filler rod to your torch at about 90 degrees. I mean, you don't need to pull out a speed square here. Just be in the ballpark and you'll be okay. You can hold your torch vertical, but it makes it harder to see down into the puddle. You'll have to get your head lower to see in. If you kick your torch back a little so your tungsten is angled forward, you'll have a much clearer line of sight. A forward angle also helps preheat in front, and the puddle follows heat. A 15 to 20 degree forward angle is a good starting point. In general, the bigger the cup, the more leeway in angle you'll have. But keep in mind, the more forward you go, the tighter you'll need to hold your arc length. It's smart to check your argon shielding before welding. An easy hack to make sure you have good coverage is to light a small puddle on a clean piece of stainless steel. Hold the post flow for a good 8 to 10 seconds. The weld circle should be shiny silver. If it's not, you might have a loose fitting, maybe too much air movement in your environment. We'll cover troubleshooting of that in a later video. Now it's time to start welding. Wipe your filler rod off with denatured alcohol. I suggest starting with 70S6 filler rod. It burns cleaner and the puddle is easier to see. Tack your plate to the table. Start a puddle on the table and plate in the crack and add filler to it. You'll notice the plate pull and lift up with the tack, which is a fun thing you'll get used to in welding. You'll learn to either use it to your advantage or disadvantage when you start building and fabricating. For weaves, this is a lay wire technique. You'll hold the rod with a slight pressure against the plate and run it over with the puddle. We're at 105 amps with 332 inch rod. Start your arc near the edge of your plate. Keep the rod back a tad while you establish your puddle. Move the puddle back and forth and let it merge into the rod. You should see the puddle swell a bit here. Step the puddle forward as you move across the middle. Hold the side and watch for the puddle to straighten out along the edge. Line each forward step up with the weld behind it you just deposited. How far you step forward is a mix of personal preference and heat control. If your puddle gets too big, it means you're too hot. You can increase the size of your forward steps or lower your amps to cool it down. But these little flat plates just build up a lot of heat. That smoke is the fingertip of my glove. I added a metal runner to prop on after this to keep my fingers out of the heat. The trick to learning dabs is to tap your rod straight up and straight down. Don't worry about feeding right now. The tapping keeps things controlled and consistent, and you'll also be less likely to crash into your tungsten. You don't want to poke at the puddle, and you definitely don't want to stab it. It's just a gentle up, down motion all the way across the plate. You'll want to drop down to 1/16 inch filler and turn your amps up. Dabbing requires more heat than weaves because the forward travel speed is faster. I'm at 120 amps here. You want to tap the rod straight down into the leading edge of the puddle, pausing slightly to let the rod consume before lifting up and moving forward. I'm watching for the puddle edges to spread out slightly and fuse to the base metal. If you look at the edge of the puddle here, you can see some sizzling popping off on the plate there. You'll see that if your plate is starting to get too hot during these drills. If you see it, it's best to let it cool down a bit before moving on. Other than dipping your tungsten, your filler rod melting back is the biggest struggle while learning to TIG weld. As I lift my torch up, the arc length increases, going outside the puddle and hitting the rod. Same with a large forward angle. It's still the arc length when I lift the torch up that melts the rod back. I just don't have to lift it as far. The arc spreads from the tip of the tungsten like an upside down V. The farther from the base metal, the wider it reaches. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate all the awesome comments and feedback from lesson 1. In the next lesson, we'll hit our first 2 weld joints. So save your plates because we're going to make something.